in the
Hmm.
state of New York, those are also capped too. And what that creates is an artificial overvaluation of a company because of a limited licensing scenario.
Right.
And when you look at a state like Oklahoma that made it very affordable and absolutely very easy to become licensed, of course, they've got guardrails, benchmarks on the criminal background of people and what they're
Sure.
doing and where you can do it. But they've really said anybody who qualifies can get a license, and it's like $2,500, right? Where in some states it's upwards of $1 million to
Yeah.
apply for a license in cannabis.
Like here
That
in
to
Georgia, we've got those six licenses. You have to minimum have 1.25 million liquid, and
yeah,
then you've got Oklahoma with $2,500, and you can have a license. So,
just
in your
just look
opinion,
to your
which one's better?
just look to your neighbor in the South Florida,
There you go.
which limited it at one point to 8 geographic locations.
Right.
And if you were shopping last year to maybe acquire a cannabis license in the state of Florida, the kind of numbers that you would hear is $50 million or
Hmm.
more for a state issued license. Now, if the state grants a license and it has that kind of value, because of the limitation. Something's really wrong, right? A
I agree.
company shouldn't be worth $50 million unless they do, $30 million in revenue and have the capacities to do more.
Right.
And just the fact that there's a license, I mean, you get into these cap license places like the state of Maryland or, Georgia or Florida, whoever those six people are that receive a license is going to immediately have an inflated value based on how limited the licensing is in Georgia. Now,
That's correct.
will all six of those companies that get picked, will they provide quality products? Will they have the capital to do all the things? I certainly hope so. I've got faith in at least one of those
There
groups.
you go.
And my belief though is that limited licensure is really kind of it's just a boxing out of opportunity, and this is really the problem for social equity.
Yes,
um,
absolutely.
but it's not just social equity. If there's only six groups in a state of 12 million getting a license, it's like getting the Willy Wonka magic chocolate bar, you know what I mean? like
Right.
like it just limits the opportunities for people to be in this business, and it perpetrates this concept that cannabis is about making money, right?
Correct. Correct.
um and all business is about making money, but cannabis is supposed to be fun. Cannabis is supposed to be a business that helps people, that the people who consume it, if they're consuming it for pain or other things, that you're making a product or you're growing a plant that's changing people's lives. And the idea that cannabis is an ATM machine that just prints money, I think, has been created by these
Yes.
legislative attempts to limit it. And there's a lot of people in the business who are throwing their drink at the computer at the things that I'm saying, but they know I'm right? Like,
That's right.
saturation of the marketplace is part of capitalism, and
Correct.
having a product that people believe in and like and continue to buy is part of creating a successful business. Having a product that's one of six that people have, that 12 million people have to choose from those six different categories or six different product lines, right? That's not access. That's not a successful, thriving economy built by a new product available to Americans who demand it. That's this strange concept of how can we control the people who are involved. And that's where I hope this new administration changes the script, is that some kind of meaningful change, whether it's banking, we've been waiting for banking for years, or full-blown federal legalization. I'm actually really scared of federal legalization because if they do it wrong, it's going to put everybody out of business. Schedule
Okay.
2
All right. Let's expand on that a little bit though, Dan,
Yeah.
because you can't say something like that and let the viewers think or listeners think, "Whoa, what is he talking?" Let's hit that one a little bit. What do you mean by that?
All right, so I don't have all of the different definitions pulled up on me, so this is memory. Okay, so there may be some things some important points that I get wrong. But Schedule 2 means that a substance is legal, however, it must be administered by a pharmacist.
Okay.
So, how many states don't have that situation? How many states it's a retail environment with an expert behind the counter, whether you call them a bud tender
Right.
or whatever you want to call them. I know that term is changing now. But it's primarily a person with a lot of interest in cannabis who, strives hard to understand what the products are about and what the different brands are about and connecting meaningfully with the consumer and what they're trying to get. They're not pharmacists.
No,
And none of
not
those
at all.
stores in those states that don't require pharmacists have that infrastructure even set up. And by
So
making it
on
scheduled,
that, Dan, I don't even think I don't even think I can recall off the top of my head any states that are set up that way where they have to, other than Georgia, which is what they're talking about doing, requiring a pharmacist on staff. Are other states that way?
well, Illinois started that way. I
Okay.
don't believe that's how it is now because it's recreational, but Illinois started that way. Maryland went that route. You had to have a patient counselor on site.
Okay.
The thing is it's just such a high traffic sales environment. There's so many people who want to come in and connect with the products and purchase some cannabis, whether it's gummies or some kind of smokable. That I mean, it's not sustainable to set it
Right.
up in a way where you've got to have a clinically trained pharmacist who is either engaging with a patient and determining what their issues are, and that's really a medical doctor environment. And to me, my experience with cannabis, I've been consuming cannabis since 1984. I think I kind of know some things about cannabis. To
Sure.
me, the medical relationship that requires a doctor should be people who have severe allergies and they need to consult with their physician about known allergens, right? So that there's
Okay.
certain things that they need to stay away from, or minors, or people who have heart conditions or
Right.
other severe medical other types of things besides pain, so that they can get some advice from a physician about what the known side effects of cannabis are and how it may and may not impact them. But as far as like actively being directly involved in that consumer or that patient's choices on what they purchase, like
Right.
that's inappropriate to me. It
Yeah.
really
I
is.
agree. I agree.
It not only is it inappropriate, it's not sustainable. And what kind of situation is a state putting pharmacists in when they have to make a determination of whether or not they want to be involved?
Correct.
And then, what's the stain on their pharmacological, background if they do choose to get involved and they don't like it and they want to go back to a pharmacy, right? Are they then kind of marked, right?
Well,
They
that's
have
the
a
big
scarlet
question,
letter as being in the weed business.
Right.
So it's ridiculous. It's unnecessary. And, honestly offensive to me that, a state won't just admit that their citizenry wants it and that the local and state communities could benefit from the tax. But on that same note, I mean, too much tax makes the black market thrive. Just ask
Absolutely, it
California.
does. Yeah, we've seen that one 100%. We got just a couple minutes left here on the Veterans for Cannabis podcast with our extremely special and exciting guest, Dan Anglin, today. Dan, you mentioned the new administration coming in. In closing, I'll let you have the last 60 seconds on it. Tell us what what are the top 2 or 3 things you want to see this administration do that could benefit us in the cannabis industry?
Descheduling
Okay.
completely out of the schedule. So I only touched on Schedule 2. I didn't talk about 3, 4. We really need Congress to educate themselves and the FDA and the DEA and any other agencies that have been involved on really the safety of cannabis, and acknowledge that cannabis and alcohol are very, very similar as far as how consumers utilize them,
Right.
and the regulatory restraints should be almost identical. Right. So, in my view, a descheduling would make that possible. A rescheduling, even to 4, doesn't really help the people that are in business now. So, if they're going to take legalization, I really hope that they take a business sense approach and honestly just deschedule it and allow the states to participate if they so choose, but don't allow states to prohibit shipments into their states.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
a state like Indiana that is clearly going to be the last one to legalize, if ever, they don't have to legalize for cultivation and dispensaries and whatever. If we had the interstate compact lifted and we could ship it to Indiana, Georgia could certainly grow enough cannabis that they could fill online orders from folks in Indiana, right?
Absolutely.
So, and banking. I mean, I've had 22 bank accounts. I'm on my 23rd bank account. The banking regulations are so restrictive that banks have to charge a lot of money to the clients that they allow to have accounts, because of all the FinCEN guide rails that are in. And truly, most banks close, anybody related to the cannabis industry or taking money from the cannabis industry, because they don't want to have to track the transactions, which are currently required.
So true.
Treat us
so true.
like businesses.
That's it. I think that's the stopping point right there, Dan. I am so on top of that one. I agree with you 100%. Dan Anglin, CEO and founder of Can America Brands. Dan, I can't say thank you enough for being the guest here on the Veterans for Cannabis podcast today. Awesome, man. And we're really looking forward to having you on as a continuing guest and input. I think we're going to do another one with you and talk about Georgia. Since we close with Georgia there, we might as well just go into what's going on with Georgia on the next segment, so the listeners can tune in later.
Sounds great. Thank you for having me on. And I look forward to working with Veterans for Cannabis on convincing Congress to treat adults like adults and businesses like businesses.
Absolutely, Dan. We'll make it happen. Dan Anglin, thanks so much. And you guys take care. We'll see you next time.
Line over there, over there. Send the word over there. That the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming. The drums coming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer. Send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there.